So I'm going to shoot over a few questions, and probably the first question will come to all three of you. Mic, chahiye sir. No specific order, you can pick and give your answer. We've been since morning hearing about ESG compliance, and to be honest, I've been sitting through some of the sessions in and out, and my head is spinning. There's so many new concepts, so many certifications, and so much of compliance. I mean, my head is spinning. I don't know how many of you are feeling the same way. So my question is, I'll start with Avinash, and I want this answer from all three of you. I can imagine a boulder, a big rock, a boulder coming down the mountain and coming fast towards the Indian manufacturing, Indian businesses. And this boulder is called ESG compliance. How big is this boulder and how serious is this boulder? That's your question. Avinash.
This is very serious. Let me give you one specific example of CBAM, which is applicable to 6 industry. The Indian steel companies and the aluminum, the kind of we manufacture, it's almost, per ton of production, the emissions are almost 30 to 40 times more than the Chinese or other companies. So imagine when right now the transition phase, the voluntary phases of the CBAM is going on. So from 2027, the verification phase will become mandatory. So if Indian companies, their per ton of production, if it is not equivalent or lower than the other competitive world, we will not be able to survive.
We will not be able to export?
We will be able to export, but our input cost will become high because the European Union, they will start charging carbon tax from us. Okay. So right now we are paying only GST, then we will pay carbon tax also.
So basically what you're saying is, if the steel industry, the Indian steel industry is emitting about 30 times more than equivalent steel industry in China, if we do not do something and reduce our carbon emission, we will go out of business in a way.
We will, sooner or later we will be having an impact on our top line, bottom line, both. So my point is that change, before climate change force you to change.
Absolutely. You always maintain that. So Dr. Suresh, what do you think? How big is for your industry?
In the context of a pharma industry, so we are part of already Indian regulatory network or the environment. So when we started our journey towards ESG, we just discussed with the EHS department and production department and finance department, what is the percentage of your compliance without going in for let us say ESG framework. The percentage was somewhere in the range of 45 to 50%, which means 50% you are complied with. Only thing is that you have to extend your compliance by another 25% or 30%. So Indian industries by and large is a part of a regulatory network and environment. I don't see this is going to be a big threat unless you be very, very proactive in actually coming out with certain purposeful strategies and adopt these strategies towards ESG performance improvement.
Okay, thank you. So, Dr. Pandey.
Yeah, just my point of view, I am sharing one of the example. I was involved last year in the Europe in one of the divestment, and one of the investors, they have come up with the 70 questions related to ESG. So this is an investor when they are and asking from the Philips. And they know they have public domain, so many things, but still they wanted to confirm each and every step. So not about 1-2 questions, set up the 70 questions related to each key element, including detailed reports and detailed ratings, detailed substances, everything. So now things are evolving, but now this is right time to start, and which I think mentioned by other speaker, right time to proactive step, learn and educate ourselves and our organization, and accordingly we have to prioritize based on the risk. Here I think another important factor which I have to emphasize on the risk, because we can attack on the top three risk, and based on the organization appetite, that's most important element.
Thank you. So again, I'm reminding all of you, let's have some quick answers, very crisp. So Avinash, my question to you is, a lot of people think that ESG, okay, I'm being very crude in my question, is some kind of a business barrier, trade barrier that certain countries are putting on certain countries. Do you think this is true or false?
Like, yes, CBAM is sort of, one, you can say, that is one sort of a barrier because, European Union, because, they have a net zero target earlier than India. India is having a target to become net zero by 2070, but entire Europe, they have taken a commitment to become by 2050. So when European Union, buys anything from the Indian side, either B2B or B2C, we are actually becoming their scope 3. So you cannot become net zero unless you target your supply chain, unless you target your scope 3 emissions. So actually in case of 6 industries, or maybe other in the future, we are actually scope 3 for the European Union. So unless we improve, they will not buy from us. Because the steel, cement, or whatever is being consumed in their country, the embodied energy or embodied carbon which goes in manufacturing, it is being consumed there. So if they have an option to buy a less carbon emitted steel or cement or whatever from Vietnam or, let's say any other country, so they will prefer that. Why they will prefer India? Because ultimately item is being consumed there, and because that is being manufactured for them, so that's why who is manufacturing and how it is being manufactured, it's depends on that. So that's why there will be a barrier. In fact, there will be more barrier. The CBAM will be applicable to textile, hopefully by next year. The CORSIA regulation, I don't know how many of you knows, it will become mandatory by 2027. So every aviation company, all the international airlines, they will have to meet their 50% GHG emission reduction target, either by purchasing SAF, sustainable aviation fuel, or 50% through the offset of carbon credits, removal carbon credits. So whether aviation, steel, cement, textile, in next 2-3 years, you will see barrier everywhere.
So my friends, that's the boulder that is coming down. It's very serious from what I hear from the professionals. So if you have to stop this boulder, you have to improve, you have to invest. So my question is, how serious is the investment in, I'm talking of hard money, I'm not talking investment of time and energy of people learning, unlearning. How serious is the money to be invested in mitigating all this, according to the three of you? Are you preparing, are Indian businesses preparing to invest money to transform, to transgress into new technologies, etc.?
I think, I consider each, the business opportunity as an opportunity to improve our ESG performance. I will tell you today, Amazon has approached us, do you have RSPO guidelines and its compliance? What is RSPO? First time I heard about what is RSPO. RSPO stands for responsible, the responsible roundtable on palm oil. Are we using, to what extent the palm oil is being used in the pharma derivative? Is it in compliance with environmental standards or not? So, then I discussed with the top management about the need for RSPO compliance, and the management has also agreed. So every business opportunity with respect to ESG compliance, if we take an opportunity to improve our business further, then it becomes a win-win situation.
Okay, so Dr. Pandey, do you think in most cases, very general question, does it need investments to become more compliant? That's my question which I asked.
Yeah, definitely, because again, which I mentioned about risk-based approach, pollution control devices required investment.
Yes.
And this is one of the parameters. Same time, waste reduction. The various, technology and entire process required some investment. But they can, definitely, my organization, we are doing through the lean manufacturing, and also Kaizen is one of the way to improve the entire value chain. But pollution control, where we have invested, and some wastewater, sewage treatment plant, if you have, but upgrade the system. Yeah. How you are, channelize the, using the water, and same waterless urinal. So these things required money definitely, but there are return on investment as well going forward.
So Avinash, what do you think? Because this is the biggest barrier. When you say we have to, I remember somebody talking about, I just bought, invested in a boiler, and now, I have to retrofit or I have to change. I've just not even recovered from the first investment. So how serious is investment? What do you think?
It's serious, and when you invest, you will have to see the feasibility. If you are investing in a rice husk based boiler in Ludhiana, makes sense. But if you are investing in a rice husk boiler somewhere in Madhya Pradesh or somewhere else or in Gujarat, doesn't make any sense, because you will have to make sure that you have a continuous availability also. Reliance is investing heavily on the green hydrogen because they are at a risk. They are facing a huge transitional risk. If the entire world shift on electric, then Reliance, being a petrochemical company, will be wiped out. But they are investing smartly on the hydrogen. Imagine if Reliance start producing hydrogen, green hydrogen, earlier than Shell, Aramco, ExxonMobil. What can happen to Reliance? Can you imagine? Their top line will be where? They will be the world's biggest. They will beat any oil company. So in the oil sector, every company wants to come first, and the company which will produce the green hydrogen first in the large scale, they will be, their profit will be humongous.
Correct. So now, I think what I'm hearing from all three of you is, yes, you require money to make the switch, okay, and it's a catch-22. Okay, if you don't invest and make the switch, your competitors make the switch, and you lose out on business. So it is, the point I'm trying to make is, friends, it is serious. It is this needs attention. You are the messengers. I think you have to take to your top management. Probably you are the top management, and this has to be understood. And of course, there is green financing and all those things that I want to go into. So last two questions, and I want very crisp answers. For somebody who has not really started out, I personally believe, for example, in India or maybe in the developing nations, emerging countries, global south, if I say, what are the baby steps we should take? Something that we should start with, 1, 2, if you can give me 3 must baby steps we should take. We can't do everything. Rome was not built in a day. So what can we do?
I think we have a system called social performance teams, SPT. HR is not doing ESG anymore. HR is only facilitating. That SPT team across the organization is given the checklist. This is with respect to environment, this is with respect to social, this is with respect to governance. And you have to audit all the units with respect to these.
So step 1, you're saying, sir, is form a team.
Create a structure.
Create a structure and give them a checklist. Right. Okay, sir, Dr. Pandey.
Seek guidance. Why I'm saying it's a thumb rule. संवाद से संबंध बनते हैं, संबंध से संभावनाएं बनती हैं, और जब संभावनाएं बनती हैं तो हार्मोनी होती है. तो इसमें क्या है, जस्ट लाइक forum required where people can somewhat dialogue and develop the relation and know about more about seek guidance from the other experts, in my point of view.
Thank you.
I think as a baby step, I would recommend, if any company can start, deputing one dedicated person, like it might be ESG champion or sustainability professional, and give him some power so that, he or she is having the authority to, take some decision for the sustainability. Recently, we are working for one company, and there is one guy, we are struggling for GHG data from last 6 months. Now that guy say, sir, मेरा काम तो कुछ और था, sir, मेरे को तो फंसा दिया. Now from 6 months, we are struggling to get even scope 1, scope 2 data. That is a poor guy, and he's working in that company from last 23 years.
Yeah, that sums up very well. So, 2 more things. One is, you see, if we, SEBI has said 1,000 companies of India. Very good. But the Indian economy is not this 1,000 companies. In fact, we all know the backbone of a country is the SME. Right? It is the SME. It is not the MNC which drive and build economies. It's the SME. How far, Avinash, do you think SME is from this ESG, this boulder called ESG? Blissfully unaware, disconnected?
If you look at the ESG frameworks, if you are part of ESG framework, you have to identify your top 50 vendors with whom you deal with, and you make sure that there is an undertaking from all these top 50 vendors with whom you deal with to follow the ESG guidelines. They start with a few, but over a period of time, you extend this ESG activities through auditing system and this interconnected.
So the big brother pulls in the younger brother. Very good. Avinash, what is your take on this?
MSME sector, obviously, there's no, deny that, they need a funds, they need a capex. These are poor guys struggling a lot, and they need a support either from the government or from their downstream side buyers. I read a case study from Sweden where a company, what they have started in recently is that earlier their credit period to pay their upstream side supplier was 1 month. Now to incentivize them, they pay them in advance. So that they get the 1 month credit to advance money. And even somewhere I have read that people or the downstream side buyers, they are giving 1% extra to them so that they can start decarbonizing or start doing some ESG practices. So these small things, if the downstream side's buyer can do, I think it will make a lot of sense instead of depending too much on IFC, World Bank. That will help for sure, but I think charity begins at home.
Yeah, and Pandey-san, what is your SME?
My point of view, government regulatory perspective, they have to also support, and the same time like CII, FICCI and KAIZEN Institute, how they can conduct such a kind of session and also provide the expertise.
Okay.
That makes sense.
So I'll just jump into two or three very quick rapid fire questions and we'll end it there. Thank you for your participation. So when you have a shower, Dr. Suresh, how many minutes is your average shower?
3 minutes.
3 minutes. Doctor?
It's depend on the day, and mostly Saturday, Sunday, maybe more than 3 minutes, but mostly 2 minutes.
Okay, thank you. And
it's very less. I don't use actually shower. I always use bucket to.
Very good. He's already taken the bucket.
I don't think I have
so.
ever used shower. Hardly 2 minutes. I don't think.
Okay, very good. And any personal, 3 of you are professionals who are on seriously thinking, engaged, promoting sustainability. Anything in your life which has become more sustainable? Any change that you brought in your personal life? Can you share a secret?
See, for example, in our organizations, daily we used to outsource 7 or 8 tankers. One day I visited all the units. I find that the water from the tap is coming more than what is required. I put the water controlled what we call it as a system, aerators, yes. And now instead of 7, every unit is outsourcing only 3 water tankers.
Very good.
That's a difference which you can make to the ESG.
And this is a small aerator at the end of the tap, right? It's a very small fitting. Fantastic. So anything personal that has changed in your life?
Personal, many things, because I am a sport enthusiast, so I am doing marathon, and last year I did Everest Base Camp. So mostly I am cycling in the Saturday, Sunday, and I am promoting, we have created certain group in the Pune and also in the company, health and well-being. That is another SDG, because we are saying jaan hai to jahan hai, lekin jahan hai to jaan hai. So that's, I think, एक दूसरे से लिंक है, तो we are doing such.
Good. So Avinash, sorry.
I follow minimalism in my life. Yes.
Okay. So Dr. Suresh says minimalism in his life. So Avinash, you of course use only a bucket of water. Anything else?
Yeah. So I always follow the concept of this philosophical concept, minimalism. I think I have only one pair of shoes and couple of pairs of this my suit. So my wife always says कि your friends are having 10-12 जोड़ी जूते हैं, तुम एक जूते ही उसी को पहन के शादी में भी जा रहे हो, उसी को पहन के काइजन में भी जा रहे हो.
Very good. So I think it's extremely important for us to really think, how do we minimize, our consumer cravings. There is no end to buying, no end to. So that's a very big challenge. And I would just like to end by sharing, first of all, thank you, and sharing with my 2 sons. And I don't know the youngsters in this room will remember, but many years ago, we would have people come in the streets of India, in our Indian streets for our lady from Kenya, she would not know. And this lady or this man would shout, if you have old clothes, give it to me and I will give you utensils. Does anybody remember that? Yeah. If you give old clothes, they would give you stainless steel utensils. So, for example, if you gave 2 shirts, maybe she gave you a stainless steel plate, you know. And this was 25, 30 years ago. That was circularity. I mean, we were there, we lost it, and we are saying we want to go back there. That is the irony of life. Thank you very much, friends, for your time. Thank you. I would request Mr. Grover and Mr. Arvind Kulkarni to step forward. We have a memento for our 3 wonderful panelists. Thank you so much for sharing your time, your insights. And some of my friends were asking, can you be kind enough to share an abridged version of your presentation? If you want to hide some information, we perfectly understand. Anything that you can share, a few slides, do send it to us and we will like to share it with the people. Whatever you're comfortable doing, whatever is available in public domain. You can all take together one for Dr. Suresh and you can take a photograph over that. As we take the photograph, I have a request for each one of us here, which you can consider.